Hey, this is Handcrafted by Jason Cooper here, back with another video. This one's more of a DIY. If you haven't already though, stop by my website, woodwork.cooperjason.com, check out some of my other posts there, and also like and subscribe here on YouTube for more DIY and woodworking types of videos. So today I'm out in my sunroom. This house we bought had this sunroom, and to heat and cool it, since it wasn't originally part of the house, it has one of those PTACs, those packaged thermal air conditioners that you might see in a hotel room. You've seen those where you go in and there's the thing that goes through the wall and you turn it up to hot and cold, and it keeps the room where you want it. It's great for this room. We don't need to keep this room piping hot in the winter. We can keep it at a lower temperature, and in the summer we can decide whether or not to keep it air conditioned. Problem is it's winter right now, and we noticed the other day that it was not heating. The heating element was not coming on. It was not putting out any heat. So I had to go through the process of troubleshooting that and figure out what's going on. And so let me show you what we found out. All right, to get the cover off, you literally pull out the bottom. There's a couple little tabs on each side that kind of hold in. Pull out the bottom and then lift up gently. Just got to kind of finagle it until it comes. And there we go. Get this out of the way. And here's what we got. All right, so it's a fairly basic unit. Here's the cooling coils for the air conditioner. You can't see it without taking this stuff off. I've done all of that. There's a couple screws here. This comes out. This slides this way and up and out. And you can see down the heating element is right behind the cooling coils. So depending on whether you're running hot or cold, pulls the air through and up. Fan, one of those rotary fans is right down there. Controls are here. For today, we're going to pull this off, and I'm going to show you what the problem is and how you can test. The biggest thing for me was trying to figure out, how do I test if I have a problem with the heating element? Heating elements, electric heating elements, this is resistive heat. This is not a heat pump unit. It is just a standard resistive heat. When those heating elements go bad, sometimes they just have a spot that broke in them. Electricity can no longer flow through, so they won't heat. That was my assumption when the heat went out. I've had that happen in my dryer. But I had to test to make sure. But you don't have to open this whole thing up in order to test the heating element. I'll show you what I was able to do. All right, these two screws are just 1/4 inch. So if you have a driver, it's probably easiest, quickest anyway. One out, and the second one out. Magnetic tip helps. Come on. There we go. Those are out. Like I said, this top is going to kind of pop off. Got a ribbon cable, connects here, and the circuit board. Now I'm going to very carefully lay this back for now and show you how I was able to test this without, tearing the whole thing apart. But first, I need to disconnect power because I've now exposed hot power lines if this thing is plugged in. Carefully set this back, pull the plug, and now we're good. All right, so I'm going to take my multimeter, and if you can see in here, right there, talks about heater 1 and heater 2. This is a 240 volt unit, so it sends 2 legs of 120 to the heating unit, which is why it's heater 1 and 2. Those wires go directly to the heating coil. The heating coil has a couple of like high temperature limit switches, but there's nothing in between. So we can merely pull those wires off, test them for continuity, and find out if that heating element is good or bad. So let's do that real quick. Again, I've got the power off. Pull the 2 wires that go to the heating element. And I know this because I actually had this whole thing pulled apart. Plus there's a wiring diagram you can find online for these units. We're going to put it on continuity, put our multimeter on continuity. And when I touch both sides, if it's good, I'll get a tone. Yep. Get about 11, reading of 11, and tone. That means that electricity is passing through, the heating element is not broken anywhere, and the limit switches are not tripped. So we know that it's not the heating element at this point. So before we go any further, I do know that it's the board from previous testing, but I'll show you how I checked. Because the question is the board getting power? Well, we know the board operates, and it operates on a 24 volt. There's a transformer behind here, 24 volts comes in to operate the board, and then you got 120 coming in on line 1 and line 2, and then these relays send that to either the compressor or the heating element again, which is a 240 volt component, and we'll send both legs of 120 to that. And so we can verify that we have electricity by touching line 1 and line 2 with the multimeter set to AC, and then we can check and see if when this is in heat mode, it's calling for heat and sending that electricity. So plug this back in. Again, I'm going to be careful. And if you're not comfortable with these kind of repairs, don't do them. I have some experience, so I'm not too concerned. I'm just still very careful. Okay, so line 1 comes in here. That's hot. Line 2 is here. I should get 240 volts or pretty close. In my case, 245, 44, kind of bounces around a little bit. Okay. Now, when this is calling for heat, I should be able to touch here and read 240 volts because this should be sending it through. If only one of these relays is bad, it doesn't actually have a neutral path basically, because when you run 240 you don't have a separate neutral. They act as their own neutrals because they're in opposite phase, and I won't get any reading. So I've got it plugged in. I'm going to go ahead and kick this thing up to heat, crank it up to 90. You're going to hear the thermostat click. Yeah, hear that? Now, if I test from heater 1 to heater 2, I should show 240 volts. But I do not. I don't know if you can see that in the video. Again, I can verify here. Line 1 to line 2, 240 volts. When it's calling for heat, no heat. Which makes me think that either one relay is bad or both relays are bad, and it's not allowing the electricity to flow. That's the case. Problem with that is that means it's the board itself. So we know it's getting power and operating, so it's not the 20 volt supply. It has to be one of these other things. There's actually a little test you can do, a test mode you can put this in, and it will cycle through all of the thermostat temperatures, because that's the other possibility, is the thermostat does not think it needs to call for heat. But the fact that it comes on and runs tells you otherwise. When I ran that test, it showed accurate readings for all of those thermostats. There's an indoor, there's one here, there's one in here. I think there's an outdoor one too for when it's running the compressor on the outside. And they all tested fine. So we know that this is the board, okay? Take you off the tripod here. So now I've already ordered my part. Oh, I should have shown you this first. It is an Amana. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the model there, but a PTC 153E50A XXX AA. This is a 14,000 BTU cooling, 5 kilowatt heating unit, heating element, resistive heat. Again, this is not a heat pump. There are units that are heat pump, and they'll be a little bit different. So we're going to go ahead and pull the power on this and take this apart. All right, I'm going to pull this apart here in a second. Before I do that, I'm going to take a picture. I like to do this. Take a picture of the old unit with all the wires. Now I'm going to pull them apart one at a time as I replace it and put the new one in, but just as a backup in case I forget how things were all put together. But here's a new part. It's an upgraded part from the original. I don't know exactly how old this unit is, but I searched the part numbers on the original and then found out that this is the replacement part. I believe this was a well, I think it's like RSPK or RSKP 0013, something like that. There's an actual different part number on here, PCBCP 150. This one was a PCBCP 131, just the board itself. It also comes as a whole kit if you need to replace the control surface as well. But we're going to get this out of the package. We're going to start taking this apart, and we're going to start putting it, swapping it out. All right, first I got to get that ribbon cable off. You got to be careful with this. You don't want to damage it or break it. And it should pull off the pins. Verify I did unplug this, so I'm not going to shock myself. Shouldn't shock myself. And you just got to find a way to carefully work that off of the board. It's going to be finicky. It's probably the thing that takes me the longest to do, even though it's a fairly simple thing. Wiggle it a little bit. Can't really get in there with my fingers are too big. Don't want to pull too hard because I know how it might break loose and I'll break something. Might go flying. Okay. And I know you can't see what I'm doing. I can't see what I'm doing. Go ahead does not want to come. It's always something that causes the problem. So I'm going to prop this here. See if I can get both sets of both fingers in there, both hands in there. Let's see here. Come on, baby. Come on. I feel it moving just a little bit. There we go. All right. Very carefully getting that off. Again, keep that ribbon cable good shape. Set that off to the side. All right. So now, let's take the new one. Actually, let me loosen up the old one. There's 4 screws. Let's see if you can see all of these here. 1 in each corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, all 1/4-inch screws. So I'm going to pull off, maybe I'll pull off the bottom ones. I'm going to loosen these, but leave them in there until I'm ready to put the new board in. All right. So now, take the old board. Just be kind of careful with it. Gentle. All right. So we're just going to start. We're going to start moving these things. The new board is, it's just got color coordinated stickers and such. That's very helpful. They might all match and they might not. So we'll deal with that as we get there. But I'm going to start with this one. This is one of the thermostors, I believe, technically. There's a little tag there. You got to kind of push away from it. Here, I got to set this down. And this is where the pin on that comes in helpful. Kind of push it up and pull it out. Okay. So there's one. I'm actually going to set that down for now. These are pretty obvious, the red and the yellow, so I'm going to pull those off. I'm not going to get those confused. They're marked, technically this one's color coordinated too. It's just got words instead of actual colors. Careful. Okay. So I'll go ahead and transfer those, I think. I can do this. Yeah, maybe not. I'll start with these. To work my way around, okay? This is the 24 volt incoming power that actually operates the board. This says red and blue, mine are just both black, so I'm just going to match up the location. Gently work that off. Come on. Set that down and work that off. This is where a pair of pliers might, there we go. There's the bottom one. Top one. Okay. So put that in place. This is the top one. It's going on the red terminal, just like it is red on here, marked red on here. And this one blue, even though it's not blue. Okay. Snapped on. Now I'm going to loosen the rest of these, if I can find my pliers. There they are. But keep them in order. And you want to kind of wiggle them and gently maybe set it back on there, just gently, so it's loose but not, because the ones that are the same color, you want to kind of keep track of them. I don't think it matters because I think that's just passing electricity through in most cases. Pull them loose. Some of these have probably never come off before, so a little stiff. Oh, come on. Come on, baby. There we go. Just kind of set it back on there gently so I don't lose track of it. Maybe I should have left those screws on the board. I wasn't thinking about this part of it. Yep, I probably should have. Let me do that real quick. Put one of these bottom ones back in. Let it pull on me so much. Okay, that one was there. This one was over here. Okay. Pull these out. That's 2 on 1. That's an easy one for the compressor. High fan. Okay, and low fan. Perfect. Oops. Keep that there so I don't lose track. All right, here we go. Start swapping them for the other ones. Mark the same line 1. Both of those red ones go on line 1 here. If I got enough leeway to do it here, I think I do. Get them started, and then I'll check them all later. Next, we got heater 1 and heater 2. Again, I don't think it matters which one of these because they both go to the heating coil. And they're just sending the 2 legs of 120 to it to power it. And now we're back to line voltage. Oops, move this one out of the way. Try not to block your shot too much. Go. Come on. Stay. Here we go. Okay. This is line 2. Placing it in the same spot over here. Okay, and the second line 2. And we got the compressor, which is this double one. Get that stuck in there. All right, now we're down to fan. High and low. And this is where this board differs a little bit. This has fan, high, low, reversing valve. This has 2 fans, OD and ID, reversing valve. Hadn't seen that before. I better go look and see what that's about. All right, moved in a little closer here. Dug into this a little bit. This one has fan, high and low. This one has OD fan and ID fan. Indoor fan is what that stands for. I believe by the instructions that came with the unit that these go on the indoor fan. I think this is for other units that maybe have 2 fan motors or an outdoor fan related to the heat pump or something like that, which this does not have. So we're going to go ahead and go with that. I'm going to move the first one over. On the high, low to low. Okay, now I'm going to go back through here. Well, maybe I'll do that when it's all done, said and done, but yellow goes back on yellow. Red goes on red. There's one more that goes here, but I'll deal with that in a second. By the way, some of these units have remote thermostats somewhere else in the room. They'll have a little bit different setup. So if that's yours, well, good luck. I don't know how to deal with that, but there's plenty of online resources to figure that out. Okay, I'm going to pull the other screws out of this while I carefully hold the new board out of the way. Okay, now should be able to pull this one out. Set this one down in place. Grab a couple screws, get this just held. Well, I make sure we're good and do this bottom right. very gently. You don't need to go real powerful on these. Top left, that way it kind of holds into place. All right. Again, I'm going to go back through and just make sure these are all seated well. That one feels good. Feels good. Not popping in anywhere. Not loose. It's going to be good. Whoop. That one went in a little bit farther. I'm glad I checked that. That feels good. This feels good. This feels good. Now I can bring this one from the front here. I don't even know if you can see that in the shot. Yep. Down here in the bottom right. A little bit farther down. And technically we're good other than putting the cover back on. Now, I'm going to show you, I'd already pulled this one off to look and see. But again, my suspicion was I'm not getting power on one of these legs, which means the other leg isn't going to do anything because 240 volts takes two legs of 120 in, opposite phase. That may not be the right term, but and then they act as neutral for each other, so the electricity can flow. So when we turn this over, aha, there you see. We've got a problem here. Something blew through, burned out on that first relay there for heat, where line 1 comes in, sends it to heat. So that's why I concluded this was bad after I discovered there was no electricity going to the heating element, and the heating element tested good. That's basically what's left. Now, if you were an electronics genius, you could probably find that. Oh, actually, there's another sign here. You can see the black. I don't know if you can see that really well. But anyway, we're going to assume that took care of the problem. Then we're going to put this away. Now we have to get the front back on. Make sure all these wires are good. One last check before we put power to it. And test it. Let's get the front cover on. Where did I set? There it is. So last thing is to get that ribbon cable on there. It goes on those pins there. This will probably be the trickiest part of this. I'm going to get this right side up. There's just holes for those pins. So in theory, you just line it up. I probably should have brought my readers. I can't see very well. Okay. It feels like it's on there. Give it a little press. Even pressure if you can, best you can. Okay, it's going on. Feels good. Let's see if I can see if that's seated down there good. Oh, got to go a little bit farther, it looks like. Give that another press. Yep, there it goes. There we go. That sounded good and fit well. Hopefully I didn't block that so you can't see it. Okay, now that that's back on, I'm going to go ahead power this on before I put it all back together. If I can figure out what I'm doing here. Get this to sit in there right. Okay. So there's a master power switch down here on the bottom left. Show you on this board right here. I'm just going to make sure that's on. Now this board will have to be, the new board will have to be configured. It has to be told whether this is a standard air conditioner or whether it's a heat pump. And I'm going to go find those instructions before I power this on and embarrass myself. Found the instructions. Talks about critical step when you got a new board. It won't operate until it's been told whether it's a standard, like I said, standard air conditioner or it's a heat pump. And PTC models are standard air conditioners. PTH models, it sounds like, are heat pumps. That's not what I have. I know I have a standard AC with resistive heat. Excuse me. So when it comes up, it tells me I have to set it. Actually, I got the specifics over here in the configuration instructions. I have to set that that particular setting on the C3 option. You either select H for heat pump or C if the unit is a cooler, and it tells you how to do that here. So let's go ahead and power this on before we put the cover on and put all this back together and make sure it works. Okay, power going back in. Okay, we have power. Huh. Well, I expected it to... Oh, I forgot one screw. I still gotta put that screw in. Darn it. But let's see if we can get it to work. What happens if we do this? So it's to 88. calling for heat. I can smell it. I smell the heat element. I can feel some heat. Nice. We have heat again. That took care of our problem. Just to prove it, I'll take this off again and we'll test across those terminals. Get my multimeter out. Set it to voltage range on AC that I can test that, and very carefully lift this back. Again, I should get 240 volts across the two heater terminals. And I do. I think you can see that in the shot, maybe not. But I got it, 240 volts, so we're back up and running. And I don't know why I didn't have to do the configuration step like it said I would, but I didn't. So I'm going to kick this off and get this buttoned up with the final screws all punched down and good to go. All right. So the board worked as it is, but I wanted to check the setting. It told me, the instructions say that it will pop up and won't let you proceed until you set it. But apparently this was already set, and I don't know if that means, I don't know what that means. But anyway, I found the instructions on how to check the setting for what this calls C3. And there's a table in the instructions for, talks about C3. There's a table in the instructions about what all those different menu settings are, because if you have like the remote thermostat and several other options on here, you're going to end up having to configure a few more things. This is just a basic unit with local control. I just have to make sure it's on C instead of H for the C3 setting. So it says to do that, press and hold the plus and minus, and then hit the, where'd it go? Off button 2 times. Press and hold plus and minus, off button twice. Release the plus and minus, hit heat 3 times. Okay, C3. Then it should cycle, it should show me H. Oh, see, there we go. This is set to H, which is heat pump. So I need to adjust that using the plus or minus. And I think I just go minus. There we go. There's our C. We should be good now. C3 is set to C. All right, we're going to hit off, and we should be good. Now, just to check that, I'm going to do that again just to make sure it's stored and shows up next time. I'm going to press and hold this, plus and minus, push the off button twice, gets the dashes, heat button 3 times, make sure it still says C. Yep, there we go. Okay, we're good to go. I'm going to button this thing down, and we should be up and running. Let's get that back down there. I just want to watch it because I still have the power on. Oops. There's one. There's one in the opposite corner. Just make sure this doesn't touch any of the really hot there, the voltage. Should probably unplug it to do this, but I didn't. All right, so that's the board secured. I'm gonna put this in place. There's a couple of tabs that fit into some slots here. There, that's down, that's down. And then you gotta kind of work this down, grab the screw, get this screw in first on the right side. Whoops, see, you gotta be careful. Line up the holes best you can. There, that one's in. Other side, the same thing. Line up the hole. And don't overdrive those sheet metal screws, because that won't do you any good. All right, we are up and running. We'll check it one more time, set it as high as it'll go, make sure the heat comes on. Hear it click. Thermostat's working. Yep, it's getting hot. Yeah, this is great. It's getting hot. I don't know if you can, obviously you can't see heat, but it's hot. I'm going to kill that off and let this cool down a little bit and cycle it through the cool side of things, which will be a little hard to tell today because it's already cool outside, but probably needs a timeout. Yep, timed out. Let's go to cool. Put this down. Okay. Hear it running. There comes the compressor. Yep. It's going to take a little longer to feel the cool, but I'm starting to feel it. Nice. Yep, I think we're back in business. Everything seems to be working just fine. Cycle through the fan speeds. It's working. Constant fan, I don't want that, but... All right, now get this back on. You put this top edge over this, and there's a couple of tabs on each side that latch in. So you keep the bottom out a little bit, put the top in, sit on there, just kind of drop it down. That's it. Didn't have to pop it in at all. It just kind of slid right in by itself. And we're back, good to go. All right, that's it for today's project. Obviously not everybody has one of these, but you probably have something in your house that's going to break down at some point. Just encourage you to do a little research of your own, dig into it a little bit. You might find that they're fairly easy to repair, or you might find that you want to let a professional do it. Either way, if you do your own repairs, just be careful. Follow safety precautions, wear eye protection depending on what you're doing. In this case, it was mostly about electricity, making sure it was unplugged before you poke around in there and hurt yourself. But I'm confident you can learn and you can grow and you can do some of these things yourselves, or at least know that you're not being ripped off. That's probably the biggest part of DIY, just making sure someone's not taking advantage of you. I hope you liked this video. Hope it was helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe, all those good things, and visit my website at woodwork.cooperjason.com. Thanks for watching. Until next time.